After TRPO, let us see PPO for proximal policy optimization. Actually, there are two PPO algorithms that I will present to you hereafter. I want to stress that those algorithms are well covered on YouTube videos, so I will just give a quick overview here, and you can refer to those videos if you want to get more details. A point with this algorithm is that they are very easy to implement, so they are a lot used, and we will see a few of those applications of PPO, in particular by OpenAI. And the key question that I want to address here, because that's the center of those lessons, is PPO actor critique, or is it more a policy gradient approach? And you will see that it is somewhere in between. So what's the first algorithm? As I told you in the previous lesson, the conjugate gradient method of TRPO is not available in tensor libraries like PyTorch or TensorFlow. Okay. So the idea with PPO is to use exactly the same idea as TRPO, but use a soft constraint on the trust region rather than a hard one. That's the first algorithm. So instead of solving this optimization problem, where you have to maximize the expectation with respect to theta subject to a constraint, you will also maximize the same expectation with respect to theta, but you regularize it with the Keil divergence constraint using a beta parameter. And what is very nice if you just restate this maximization problem into this way is that this problem can be solved using standard stochastic gradient descent approaches or your favorite gradient descent technique in tensor libraries like Adam, RMSprop, etc., etc. Okay, so that's much easier to implement than using the conjugate gradient approach to solve this problem. The second algorithm comes with a slightly different idea. The idea is that the importance sampling term, which is written this way, can get huge if the probability of the action with respect to the state was very, very small in the previous policy. Okay, you have trajectories from your new policy, and maybe in the previous policy, taking this action in that state was very unlikely. In that case, this term can be huge. So the idea is that to avoid the instabilities resulting from these huge elements, we will just clip them. Okay, so we rewrite this term this way, and we change the loss function with respect to the previous one. We take the mean of this term and this term with 1 minus epsilon and 1 plus epsilon, so as to make sure that the values won't get huge this way or huge this way. Okay. And the idea is that instead of using the standard surrogate loss function, you use the clipped loss function through your policy network, and you will get something which is more stable. Again, you can have more details about these ways to perform the clipping in YouTube videos. Now the central question is PPO actor critique? So initially, when you read the paper, it is presented as an improvement over TRPO, so you would consider that it is a reinforced-like approach, and in particular, the policy update is similar to the one of TRPO. But in the paper, you can find, when they present the algorithm, they say PPO actor critique style, and in the Dota 2 paper that I will present to you later, they say that PPO is a variant of advantage actor critique. So what's the issue? Is it really policy gradient with baseline, or is it actor critique? As we have seen from the previous videos, to better understand the story, what matters to determine whether it is actor critique or not is the way you update the critique. Is it using Bootstrap or is it using Monte Carlo regression? And actually, in TRPO, they use a n-step generalized advantage estimate method instead of Monte Carlo. So they do not use a replay buffer, but they just take trajectories and they perform n-step updates along this trajectory. And as I told you in the previous lesson, using an n-step approach puts you somewhere between Monte Carlo and temporal difference methods. Okay, and actually the actor algorithm that I just presented before does the same trick of using n-step return. So again, it's somewhere between policy gradient with baseline and actor critique. Other properties that I want to stress is that, as I just said, PPO is very simple to implement, so there are many available codes that perform rather well. It performs better than TRPO due to the tricks that I have presented to you, in particular the importance sampling clipping trick. One point is that it does not use a replay buffer. So from one side it is more stable, but from the other side it is less sample efficient than actor critic methods that use a replay buffer. And it is still on policy because we still use natural gradient-like update. So the current policy cannot differ much from the previous policy. And this explains also why it is not that much sample efficient. So PPO is mostly famous because it has been used in particular by OpenAI to solve very complicated problems. And the idea is that to solve these problems, they use huge instances with many PPO parallel workers. So for solving Dota 2, so having an AI playing at the level of professional gamers, they had to train PPO instances using more than 1000 GPU, okay, during 10 months of training, which would be the equivalent of 40,000 years of training. They also have this paper about dexterous in-hand manipulation, where here they have a pool of about 400 worker machines, each with 16 CPU cores. And for solving the Rubik's Cube, again, they have a huge architecture with 900 workers, many big GPUs, etc. So they use massive parallel versions of PPO with dedicated architectures. And one point is that very few teams in the world can afford such engineering and computing effort because it required a lot of engineering to perform these experiments. Okay. So I just want to stress two aspects of those work. One is that using many workers is a good idea because it provides more IID samples and faster exploration. And actually the acceleration that you get is better than just linear acceleration in a number of workers due to the parallelization. Just because the samples you get are more IID, your algorithm will learn faster. Okay. And if you have many workers, you may not need a replay buffer. This was also the case with asynchronous actor critic. Okay, but you will lose some sample efficiency with respect to the case where you still feel a replay buffer. Okay, and finally, OpenAI has built several different architectures, but based on the same principle, which is called OpenAI 5, where in fact you have those parallel PPO workers, where you have a value function and a policy, okay? But in those workers, they also have an LSTM, so as to get some memory of the previous states, okay? This makes them resistant to non-Markov data, okay? And then to estimate the state, they use different vision layers, which are problem specific, so you don't have the same architecture for Dota 2 or dexterous manipulation or solving Rubik's Cube. And that's it for that lesson, so don't hesitate to ask questions.